Good evening, everyone. My name is Luis Berispedia. I serve as chair of the Historic Districts Commission in Concord. Welcome to the October 19, 2023 meeting of the Town of Concord Historic Districts Commission. The commission will review two new applications this evening. I will make an announcement at the beginning of the meeting, and we will also conduct some additional business at the end of the meeting. We are conducting this meeting online in accordance with the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Executive Order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law. The public may access this call through both telephone and video conferencing. Members of the public will have an opportunity to ask questions and provide public comment on applications and discussions following the petitioner's presentation and questions from the commission. To do so, please raise your hand in the participant function of the Zoom meeting platform. If you are calling in and cannot use the platform, you may raise your hand by dialing *9. Our host will mute microphones of those not speaking, and in order to prevent bandwidth, may need to turn off video, with the exception of the commissioners, the host, and the current applicant. I will call on each commissioner for comments on an application and then open the meeting for public comment. Once there are no more public comments, I will ask for a motion from the commission to continue, to approve with conditions, or to reject. A second, and conduct a roll call vote. Once the commission has acted on an application, the applicant is free to leave the meeting. We will do a roll call of the members of the commission. Walter Clay.
Here.
Melinda Shumway.
Here.
Paul Ware.
Here.
Tim Whitney.
Here.
I understand that Kate Schertner will not be here, that Dennis Shore will not be here, that Bill Hewitt will not be here, and that Catherine Mast will be late. And I am here. So, without further preamble, we will proceed to the new public hearings. The first one is O'Brien Design Group, 363 Main Street. To remove, replace, and install new lighting, replace doors, and install new door hardware and mail slot. Mr. O'Brien here?
Yes, I'm here. Thanks.
Well, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
If you were to be so kind to tell us, what are you planning to?
Sure. So the that address, we've all been before this group before. Thankfully, we've had some great success, and the client has moved in and are enjoying living here. But the front door, we have double front doors, 2-panel doors. The upper part is like a reproduction frosted glass, and the doors do not close and lock properly. Obviously, with the young family, they're concerned about that. So we're proposing replacing those two doors with in-kind with similar true style wood door, painted on both sides, but no glass in the upper panel. We're keeping the original transom window that's there, and just replacing those like reproduction frost windows with solid. We would then be also at the same time replacing with new unlacquered brass hardware, door lock, mail slot. And the biggest change we'd like to make for safety and also for sort of curb appeal and welcome is replacing that pendant that exists on the house with two hewn brass unlacquered sconces on either side of the door to better light, when you open the doors, to better light the people out there, and to not shine all the light into the house, but in fact light the porch better. Same number of candles, we're lowering the number of candles, obviously using all warm white LED dimmable bulbs in there, and just capping the existing pendant fixtures. Just on the front we'll be capping and painting where the existing pendant is, and on the side entrance we're replacing a pendant with another pendant in kind, just for something new and without glass to capture all the bugs.
Okay. So are those all the changes you are proposing?
They are.
All right. Well, looks like fairly straightforward. So I'll ask the commissioners for comments. Tim?
I don't I don't have any concerns, other than I think the front sconces, it's hard to tell looking at the fixture. I'm getting an echo, Luis. Are you hearing that?
Yeah, I'm hearing echo as well.
Well, I'll keep going and see what happens. Is there, just in terms of the potential glare of the fixtures, the sconces, is there, I couldn't tell just looking at the fixture.
It's just a regular candelabra, like torpedo tip candelabra bulb, like in the pendants.
Okay. Outside of that, I don't have any concerns. Thank you.
Thanks.
Paul. Thanks very much, Tim. Paul, go ahead.
I have no questions and no concern.
Thank you very much, Paul. Melinda. You are muted.
I think it's just fine.
Thank you so much. Walter. You are muted. You're still muted.
Not something I did to myself. I have a question about the glass lights in the door. And you say that they are reproductions?
Well, we inherited them from the previous owner. They're like a laser frosted glass panel.
So are you sure they're reproduction?
Well, we don't, they're not original to the house. We're sure of that. I don't know who did it looks like a like sandblasted like a CNC application, like a laser cut application.
Mm-hmm.
As best we can tell.
There are many types and ways of having done glass. The reason I'm asking is because it was presented as that they were original, I had thought. So when you said they were
no, the doors themselves are original. Sorry,
okay.
I should clarify. The doors themselves, but not the glass.
Okay.
The glass has been replaced at some point.
It's crossing T's and dotting I's.
Sure.
And then you said these are going to be unlacquered brass fixtures?
Yeah, unlacquered brass.
With the idea that they will weather?
Yep, and oxidize like a living finish.
Okay, they're rather striking to my eye, seeing it this way as it is.
Yeah, they're shown in the hewn, but of course in 6 months they'll be black.
Yeah, okay,
dark.
That's good. And then the pendant, you said it's replaced in kind. I'm not sure.
It is. It's on the other side porch. Sorry, we're at a separate entrance. Yes. Which is visible from the driveway. I don't know how visible it is from the street, but I felt since we're presenting them both, we should include them both.
Right. So by in kind, you mean pendant for pendant, not
pendant for pendant, correct?
Not stylistically.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. I'm happy to hear that it's unlacquered brass, having had some experience with such things. So that said, I don't begrudge you replacing the doors and having them work, and I'm fine. That answers my questions. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Walter. I have no comments. I had the same comments that Walter had, and his questions clarified it. So I'll ask the application for public comment. I asked for public comments. Are there any public comments? If there are no public comments, I'll ask the commission for a motion to approve with conditions, continue or deny the application of 363 Main Street.
I move that we approve the application for 363 Main Street to remove, replace, and install new lighting, replace the doors, and install new door hardware and mail slot.
A second?
Second.
Tim.
Aye.
Paul.
Aye.
Melinda.
Aye.
Walter.
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. So thanks very much. Thanks for your presentation, and look forward to see the weathering of the polished brass.
Hopefully not in severe weather. Let's just call for nice mild weathering.
No, the the elegant weathering of the brass.
Yes, exactly.
May nature be kind to your architectural.
The exquisite decay. Well,
Let's nature be kind to your fixtures.
thank you all
Okay.
very much for your time.
Thank you. The second public hearing that we have is James Morin, 320, 322 Lower Road, to replace doors and lighting. Is a representative from Mr. Morin or from 320, 322 Lower Road here?
Hi, can you see me?
Yes, we can see Mr. Spadorcia.
Sparosha, close enough.
Sparoscia. Well,
Yeah.
welcome.
Thank you.
If you were to be so kind to present, what are you planning to do?
Yeah, so we're looking to do the two front doors. I believe they actually converted the house on the side to an unattached apartment, but basically we're going to replace that door as well as the one next door. Yep, right there. Now, when I went to the property, they had significant rot issues on both doors, and they wanted to replace something that would be very close, if not exact, to what they have, which is understandable, without having a wood door, so any sort of maintenance in the future. So in this case, we're going to do our Heritage Series fiberglass door in an oak, and we're going to have the same color red as they currently have, with a stain in the interior, which they currently have. Yep.
Okay,
Yep, right there.
so you're going to be replacing the original doors for a different set of doors, basically.
Yep, it's going to be the same finish hardware, bright brass knobs, as you can see, as what they have now. It's going to be a very, very close red to what they have currently, and then the interior is exactly what they have as far as the finish goes. And then in between the fiberglass is going to be a polyurethane insulation, so it's going to be an insulated fiberglass door, and the measurements and specs are, as you can see.
Okay, and let me see. The first image that you showed us show a whole barn. What's the relationship of those doors with that barn? Those are the doors that we're replacing in that barn?
Correct. Yep.
Okay, and how old are the doors that you are removing?
How old?
Yeah.
I believe the doors, from what I was told by the homeowner, are original to the house.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to look up how old the house is, but I'm assuming at least at the minimum, 50 to 100 years, just off the top of my head, but very, very old.
Okay. And from your perspective, is there any possibility of having these doors restored?
As far as I could see, they probably can't be restored just because of the condition that they were in. There was very, deep rot in the door. And if you cut the door from where you could see it visibly, it's probably through the actual door itself as well. So I wouldn't think that we could do a restoration on it.
Okay, because as we have all the information available that this house is actually from 1701.
Oh, well, even older than
with some additions to 1882.
Yeah.
1802, I mean 1802, and then 1850 and so forth.
Oh wow.
So it's the issue whether the doors can be restored and instead of replaced becomes very important, because these actually are very historic doors.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that it may be of consideration for the Historic Districts Commission. All right. Is there anything else that you want to tell us about the application itself?
We are doing an exact custom sizing. So the doors are going to be all custom sized to fit perfectly and look perfectly as if they are now. The one on the attached apartment or detached apartment is going to be primed interior and exterior. The homeowner wants to do the painting themselves, as it's a specific color that we wouldn't carry, and we would have to custom make and then add on after the fact. So the homeowner would be doing the painting.
Okay, so I'll ask the members of the commission for comments, starting with, let's say, Melinda.
I'm sorry, who are you starting with?
If you wanna make any comments about this application, Melinda.
Oh, so yeah, I just didn't hear my name. Actually, I think that we won't from the road be able to even tell. I mean, when I looked at the, I was really pleasantly surprised how great those doors look, considering that they're, I don't want to say plastic, but they're not wood. And so, you know, it's obvious there is no, well, I guess you could say they could go to real wood doors, but you wouldn't know the difference. I think it's great. I think they'll probably be in front of us with the garage doors in the next couple of years too, if you look closely. But I don't have a problem with those doors. I think, like I said, it would take, you'd have to be really up close to know the difference.
Okay, well, thanks very much, Melinda. Paul?
Yeah, I think in principle, of course, we would prefer that the existing doors be restored, but on the other hand, we don't know whether those doors may be 1950 or 1960 as distinguished from part of the original structure anyway. And I think we have to recognize that with more advanced, quote, advanced, end quote, materials today, that there's a real virtue for the homeowner in having the protections of something that's not going to rot. So I'm okay with this. I think the colors are consistent, and as Melinda says, I think it's essentially impossible to see this from any public way.
Thanks very much, Paul. Tim?
Yeah, I just have a question on the scope because I looked at the application. It mentions a double hung window. Is it just 2 doors that you're replacing?
No, we are doing one additional window. I was just told by the homeowner that that wouldn't be brought up because the historic commission deals with the exterior, as I understood. But yeah, we are doing one in the back of the a detached apartment where the kitchen window is currently, which was already replaced prior.
Back being meaning not visible from any public way?
Correct.
Yep, correct. Yeah, so it would be in the kitchen, not visible from the front of the house or side.
Okay, and on the one door, is there a screen door on one of the doors? Did it look like in the photograph?
Let me go double check 1 second.
That's what was in the picture.
So, do you mind pulling up the picture? So we are not going to be attaching a screen door on the new door.
So the screen door would go away and the new door would be what it is behind that screen door, matching the existing door, but in fiberglass. That's
exactly correct. The homeowner did not prefer to have a storm door, a screen door on that apartment.
Yeah, okay. I just want to be sure I understood what was going on here for the 2 doors.
Yes.
I mean, I share this same thoughts as others, as fiberglass looks pretty good these days. It's very durable. So we're taking your word that the doors are unsalvageable, the existing doors. So I don't have any other comments. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Timothy. Walter? I'm troubled by all of this, I guess, and a bit torn. The first thing is originally assuming or thinking that this was a very old building. It was 50 years old, maybe, or 100 years old. It's actually over 300 years old. And somewhere on the HDC site, as you read through things, there is a mention, and I quote, "New products and materials which are out of context are discouraged and parenthesized vinyl windows, artificial wood, faux finishes, etc. I'm concerned that it's a very old house and very old, potentially original material. And I don't know, I don't have enough information to know if it is an original door or if it is a 50-year-old or a 100-year-old door. And it doesn't seem like you're in a position to be able to tell me that either. It's certainly a challenge to repair material that is that old, but it's also potentially, whether it can be seen from the street very clearly or not, it's I'd say a damn shame to just trash 300-year-old original doors if that is the case there. And I don't know enough about it specifically to be able to make an informed decision about that. My advice and hope, I guess, would be that something, if it is original to the house, that there would be a much greater effort of stewardship to keep it original rather than going to the fiberglass. Yeah, I mean, certainly I understand what everyone's saying about fiberglass, and it's convenient and it's not all that bad, but it's also not a 300-year-old original door. So I'd really like some clarification about that.
Thanks very much.
That's where I'm at. I think it may be premature to make a decision about that. And I don't know exactly how visible it is from the street. If it's not visible at all, then there's no purview. If it is visible, then this all makes a lot of sense to potentially be more greatly concerned about it. There you go.
Thanks very much, Walter. My comments are a little are similar to Walter's. I am concerned that we may be dealing with a 300-year-old door, or a 50-year-old door, or maybe a 25-year-old door, but we really don't know. On the other hand, I also take the comments of Paul very much in mind, because it behooves us to provide some practical and rational input, and not to be extreme in our view. So what I'm looking for in this setting, it would be some type of equilibrium. And the only way that I can imagine doing that is something that we have done in other occasions in very old historic structures in Concord, which is that I would propose that the commission adds a requirement that the old doors be kept in storage, so that they would have the potential in the future to be restored if they are deemed if they are found to be relevant from a historical standpoint. And that's something that we have done before with some other structures, and I think that would be the compromise that I would seek. You see, and of course, if there's a certificate of approval, it would have that requirement written in. So one thing that we may ask Mr. Spadorcia is whether that would be acceptable to the homeowner.
I will contact the homeowner. I haven't brought that up to him, so I'm not sure what that answer would be off the top of my head, but I'm very comfortably agreeing with you guys on that. And I think that he'll be, both parties will be okay with storing the door.
Well, thank you very much. Well, are there any, Melinda, go ahead, please.
I just took it for granted that Trey was being very specific that the doors were not able to be restored. And I do hear this. I mean, 300 years is really old, but we haven't seen any evidence that the doors look that badly, and perhaps they aren't 300 years old. But would you have any way of going back and I'm thinking I wouldn't mind seeing a picture of what they look like and where the rot is, because we don't have that many 300-year-old homes in this town, and so I'm thinking maybe I jump to conclusions when that it's absolutely not possible to do it. If it was possible, I think we'd like to know that, if we could restore them.
Yeah, I have no problem with taking a picture and providing it. I can go back, take a picture of the rot as well, a little close up of the door. But with that said, with the compromise of storing the door, either way, would you feel comfortable storing the door regardless? If it wasn't able to, like say that was the case?
Well, I don't know why you want to store a door that couldn't be restored, because what's the point of that? But if I think, I don't know, maybe somebody else could. It's not a big deal probably to store the door. I don't think that's really what I'm asking for. What I'm asking for is I want some more evidence that the doors are not able to be restored.
Sure.
Okay.
Tim, you were going to have another comment?
Well, I was just, I'm going to piggyback on what Melinda's saying. This house is older than 300 years and has a great deal of texture. And we don't know, Trey, sure you're telling us what you know, but we don't know, we as a committee don't know what the condition of the doors are. So I think that's what we need to know is, or letting the homeowner know that this is of importance to us. This is a very old house in Concord, and the textures of these doors are important to the committee. That's what you're hearing. And so before those doors are abandoned, we need to have documentation or some. Are you a builder? I'm sorry, is that your role in the?
So I'm a design consultant. I go there and I build basically a project. So
yeah.
as far as the building goes, I can talk to one of our builders who will lead the project and see what their opinion is as well.
Yeah, I think given the age of the house, we need some sort of proof and photographs of what those doors really are, and ask you to take an in-depth look with the owner as to whether salvaging is possible with new weather stripping. And if not, then we'll discuss it. But that's those are my additional thoughts. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Tim. Are there any public comments about this application? Okay, I want to summarize the observations of the commission, and those are that we are in a position where we don't have enough information. One argument may be that these doors are most likely contemporary doors that are no more than 50 years old. The fact that they have a storm window is strongly suggested that that's the case. In the other extreme, these doors have been there for the better part of the last 300 years, and from that perspective, they are worth maintaining. But we have no information whatsoever about that issue. So this commission is faced with the proposition that the doors may be lost for posterity, even if they are valuable historic doors, that the doors may be removed from their current place, but it may be kept for perhaps a future restoration, if that's the case, or that we need to know exactly what the doors are about. So what I will ask from the commission is that the commission makes a motion where the application is either approved with the conditions that the doors will be kept in storage and available for the potential of a future restoration, or that the application be continued until we obtain more information about the age and the provenance of the doors. So having made those comments, then I'll ask the commission for a motion to approve, to deny, to continue, or to approve with conditions.
Well, I make a motion that we continue for 32322 Lowell Road to better understand the condition and provenance of the of the two existing doors.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, so I'll go around. Timothy,
Aye.
Paul,
Aye, but I would favor an amendment that said that in the event it's confirmed administratively or to the satisfaction of the commission that the doors are not historically significant in the sense of being 100 years old or more, that the homeowner be permitted to go forward with the work. But but failing in that, I will agree to the existing motion. I don't know how
Right.
anybody feels about that.
And may I ask then the commission for a modified motion by which we say that the motion is continued, but if it's continued, it cannot be approved. The only way to would be to approve it. We have to continue it. I don't see that we can approve it with a.
Yeah, I think you're right.
With
I think
caveats,
you're right.
yeah.
We should continue it.
So, all right. So you vote for continuing the application without restrictions.
I do.
All right. Melinda,
Aye.
Walter,
Aye.
and I am an I as well. So we will continue the application. We will consider it in the next meeting of the HCC, which is help me, Miss Clifford. When is the next meeting? November what?
November 2nd.
November 2nd. On November 2nd. And at that time, what we would like to do is to definitely approve the application. But in order to do that, we need to know exactly what is the age of the doors and what is its provenance, if that's the case, and whether they can be restored in case that they are significantly historic doors. So that would be the main requirements for the application to continue to go forward. Thanks very much, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Okay, thank you. See you in a couple
Appreciate it.
weeks.
Thank you. All right, then we have some other business. The first one is the amendment of the certificate of approval 2270 41 Monument Street light fixture review was a condition of the certificate of approval. We have any information on that, Mrs. Clifford?
Well, yes. So I put the information up on the website, but I did hear from the applicant, I think it was today or maybe late in the day yesterday, that they would prefer to table this until November 16th because they'll be coming before the commission for a new certificate of appropriateness at that time. So this way they can just have you review both the amendment and the new application at once.
Okay, I don't think we need a vote for this. You see, I think that if they want to do that, then they are welcome to do it. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Sounds right.
All right, the certificate of approval 2307, an amendment, the town of Concord, Main Street, Walden Street intersection, and this matter has been removed from the agenda and will be discussed at a later date. That is also at the behest of the applicant, so I guess that we have no real issues with that. Okay, and now we go to a very important issue with a picnic table by the townhouse.
Right. So the deputy town manager asked me to get your initial thoughts about a picnic table at the townhouse and which location would be preferable. So she shared a few images. Should I go ahead and bring those up?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Please.
So this is the corner of Bedford Street and Monument Square. And I think actually it might be easier to show you on Google Maps. So here's Bedford Street and of course Monument Square. So either on this side, like either on the side of the building here or in the front, or she also said, over, oops, here on the other side of, oops, sorry, the other side of the stairs. So either here, here, or sort of behind here. And she also pointed out, oops, sorry. This was the second location. She also pointed out that there is a picnic table already in this area in downtown Concord at the building next door.
Okay.
And just
And-
wanted to get your thoughts.
And all these are temporary structures, correct? They are not bolted in any way, right?
Right. I guess you could see it that way. Mhm.
Okay.
They won't
Right.
be removed, you know,
They can be removed anytime.
right, but they could be removed at any time. Mhm.
I'll ask the commission for comments. Always nice to have picnic tables all over the place. I'll go around the Tim.
I guess my only thought is keep the front lawn clean and put them on the side like the other building, because it just tuck them under the trees along Bedford Road would be much nicer than any place on the front lawn. That's my thoughts.
Thank you, Tim. What do you think, Paul?
I think I'm in accord with Tim in that regard. We can have a picnic table complex on the left side. And I think also the problem with the starboard side, with the, the next near the Catholic Church, is that it's a high sun area and extremely high traffic. I mean, there are endless cars hanging that right turn between the church and the townhouse. So it seems to me less desirable. And I think it's having it on the left side as we face the townhouse is a good idea. So I adopt Tim's suggestion.
Thank you, Paul. Melinda, comments?
I think the left-hand side is definitely preferable. I'm curious as to why they feel this is necessary. I mean, my first thought is, why wouldn't you put a bench in? Are people really eating lunch from the building inside and want to be outside? I don't know. The other reason I like so I don't know if anyone's told you why they really need this, but I would be curious. The other reason to not put it on the right-hand side is that the garden club, of which I am a member, we maintain the flower beds on either side of the walkway at the townhouse, and there is a spigot on the right-hand side, and we have to unwrap the hose to water mostly twice a week through the entire summer. And I just see that picnic table who's in the front being in the way, to tell you the truth. So anyways, I still wonder why it needs to be there at all, unless there seems to be a lot of people who are using the one next door, in which case I guess it'd be nice. So I'm not really either for or against, but if I had to, I'd just like to know a little more about why they want it there.
I think it's partly for staff too, who do eat lunch, of course.
Oh, they do eat out there.
Right, they do.
They would. if they
But
could.
right. But I'm a little bit curious. Do you mind if I bring up the screen again? Because, or I guess, have we heard from everyone? Maybe Walter hasn't chimed in yet, but if we could bring up the screen, because you're talking about the left-hand side, but keeping the front lawn clean, and it looks as if there's no lawn on the left-hand side.
Oh.
Let me show you, if you don't mind.
We're
Is that all-
confused.
that all
So,
pavement?
Paul,
Right, so this is all.
Paul
this
talks about starboard and port. So we don't know whether the
We're at sea.
direction the ship is pointing,
So there's no lawn back here. I think you wanted to keep this lawn clear and whoops,
Why?
this lawn clear, but you also don't want it to go back here, or do you?
Well, I don't know why you can't go to the other side where you said you didn't want it, because what's the difference on the, on the far side,
Sorry,
closer to the other building.
It
So
ends
on the
up in the
on the
front
front
lawn
lawn?
then.
are you talking
Under,
about?
on the front lawn, underneath the tree, if it's gonna be too bright in the summer, which is when they're gonna wanna be out there, being underneath the tree wouldn't be all bad. And you can move it up in between those two trees. I can't really point it out to you from here, but,
Oh, these two trees, this one and this
oh
one?
yeah, I'm sorry. Yes, sorry. There. I was looking at the wrong building for a second. No, behind the first tree.
Okay.
Behind there. There's room there, right? Yeah,
I think so. Yeah.
I don't know. I think
Okay.
that's preferable.
So we now have a specific input where the things should go. I think that's great. Walter, comments?
I have a few things. First off, once the garden club is invoked, I need to honor that certainly heavily. This,
Me too.
yes, exactly. Touche. This started as front lawn versus side lawn. The Bedford Street side allows to have a table back from the front lawn of townhouse, which to me is a preferable location to having it up in the front. And if it can be jockeyed into place on the Bedford Street side, somewhere where it is not really inhibiting the spigot, that would of the three possible choices, either side of the front lawn or the Bedford Street side, that would be my very strong preference for it. I also am wondering about material. I don't think I would want it to be made out of fiberglass at this point. And no one's talked about color or material or colors for this. Not all picnic tables are equal. It could be metal and sheet metal plank for that matter. I think that we need to be rather than just going, oh yeah, it'll be fine, it's a picnic table. We need to be clearer about what it actually is that we would be putting in a rather prominent position on Monument Square. That said, I would be interested in limiting the approval time if that's possible, so that it's not in perpetuity, but try it for a year and see whether anybody has a problem. This is also taking into mind that we're gearing up for 250th and who knows what's going to be going on. So once again, I'm trying to be mindful of setting precedents in Monument Square, and that would be one. It's all, I understand I don't begrudge anybody a spot to eat lunch, under the tree, but we are talking about being an historic commission and respecting the historic settings of things. That's my more than 2 cents.
Thank you, Walter. One question of clarification: are these going to be temporary structures subject to the temporary rules, or are they going to be permanent structures? Are they going to remove them during the winter time, or?
I assume they would remove them in the winter time, but I don't know that for certain. She might be looking for feedback on that too.
Okay, and is this something that is under our purview in the sense that these are structures that are seen from the public way, and therefore an application will be forthcoming about this matter? Is that correct?
Yeah, it's kind of a gray area. I can actually I should look through your guidelines myself more closely and see what it does say about things like picnic tables.
Yes, because there's the British soldier in Main Street goes back in every night, so every day it's outside, so it's almost fixed, but it's a temporary structure, so we have no purview on that. So it may be that that they can do whatever they want if it's something that they remove regularly and it's temporary and it's not attached to anything. So I think that's important to know. But I believe that if they are going to put something that it's semi-permanent, or that they are planning to have it there for a long duration, that they should submit an application and it should be discussed in one of the regular meetings of the HDC. Any other comments from anybody else?
Just a
Right.
picnic table.
Is there consensus on the location? Or,
Well, I think that we all tend to agree that the location that, as Melinda mentioned it, it's the better one, and that's either port or starboard, depending on which way the ship is pointing. But it's on the left side between the Monument Square and the little connection between the Old Bedford Road and etc. So I think that that's our consensus. All right. The next issue, it's the Town of Concord Mass DOT temporary markets. Just a very, very quick background. We're talking about all kinds of signs. Actually, there are not all kinds. I think there are only 5 or 3. Is it 3 or 5?
only 3.
There are only 3 signs out of 225 that were installed all across Massachusetts in 1930 to celebrate the 300th anniversary of the colony of Massachusetts. And those 3 signs that installed in 1930 are a source of controversy and contention. And Anne was kind enough to supply us with some very important information about what the signs are, what they mean, etc. And the bottom line is that the signs represent a particular interest of a particular time, and that not necessarily they don't reference true historic events or even historic interpretation, or even the correct interpretation of historic events. But they were put there almost 100 years ago, so from that perspective, they are now historic. So there has been a lot of conversation. I spoke with members of the Historic Commission. Some of them have very strong opinions that all those signs should come out right away because they use inappropriate language, they are historically incorrect, and they give an idea of historic events that never took place. Other people have a little more conservative attitude, but I think that it's going to come to us as a commission, because at some point they are going to be either removed or not removed, and we're going to have a say on that. So I think that it behooves us to be familiar with it and to have our own opinions. And perhaps this is a good opportunity to ask any questions or ask what other perspectives are there about these signs or these signs, big signs, metal signs. Any comments? I assume that Walter has strong opinions.
Yeah. Well, in my the last house that I owned had a 1930 sign put in its front lawn that had fallen into, I think it had been removed at one point. Then a painted version was put in, and we actually repainted it there too. I am not wed to having the tercentenary markers around, given their problematic nature. So I understand the point of them being old and in place, but the same way that the Civil War monument is being redressed, that would be my precedent for redressing this as well. So I'm okay taking them out if this is off the record and not official.
Of course. Paul, do you want to make any comments?
No, I really don't.
You are a good attorney. Tim, you want to make any comments or ask any questions? Or
Well, do they all say the same thing?
oh no, they all say different things. There's one
Oh,
very close to my house.
Oh, okay. Where?
One refers to Joshua Tree, the other one refers to the
Right. Okay.
place
Yeah.
where they have their weirs to fish.
Yeah.
Etc.
I mean, I generally feel the same way as, especially as if they're not accurate. there is not historic, to me, there's not historic value to these signs other than they're a period piece that were maybe need to go.
Melinda, you have any comments?
My only comment is that I don't think, if they were taken down, we'd even remember it, 24 hours later. I think it's fine if they decide to do it, and I don't think we should necessarily be the deciding party on this, but it doesn't matter to me which way they go.
One of the comments that thank you, Melinda. Sorry, one of the comments I made when we discussed this informally was that the signs have been there for almost 30 years. They represent a particular time of our history, and they sort of reflect that attitude. So it's worth having them as a point of reference. But certainly, they are not informative. So what I suggested was that they be sent to some place like in the Concord Museum, you see, with to be part of an exhibition of how the interpretation of history evolves or something like that, that they will be kept in one way or another. But again, all this is preliminary because this will come to us, but I encourage all members of the commission to become familiar with the issues. And Clifford has provided us with excellent information on that subject. And then finally, we have another hot potato, which is that we had a request to provide some guidelines about temporary art installations on parcel 1693. The parcel 1693, it's the one that it's between the War Memorial Monument and the church in Monument Square. And they wanted to know what was our opinion. One of the first things we said at the administrative level was that we may provide some guidelines and opinions, etc. That doesn't mean that there are requirements for their approval. So, and I prepared some materials that you received a couple of weeks ago. There have been a number of comments by members of the commission about what is appropriate and what is not appropriate and what our recommendations should be. And Dennis has been working on that as well. And I think that I would like to hear from the commission if there's anybody that has very strong opinions on the subject. Because what I would like to do is to delegate a group of members of the commission that will involve Dennis and Clifford and myself and any other member that want to participate in this process to draft a set of suggested guidelines for temporary art installations. It is also going to be an issue with the Concord 250, which is going to be very intense in terms of commemorative events and the structures and materials and so forth. So,
sorry, the request is just for this one temporary installation at this point. It's not for general guidelines, right? Okay. And Kate Chartner, I heard from her today, and she can put some time into this too, because she had spoken up at the last meeting saying that she had a lot of thoughts on it. So,
okay. So the question is whether we think that it's necessary that we weigh in with our own suggested guidelines, and if that's the case, then I think that Dennis and I can work on that. But if that's the case, then I would like to have a vote for the commission that that's going to be the case. Otherwise, we can say that it's not part of our job and that we don't need to do anything. Comments? Please,
Luis, just so I'm clear, there was a request from Mimi Graney, and this is for the autumn of 2024. Is that correct? And that's the period we're talking about?
That's right. Yeah.
And so it's a short period. Am I got that right? And then you also copied us on Lowell's guidelines just as a reference. And then there's this draft from Luis. That's what you're talking about, right? The draft that
That's correct. It's a draft that Anne had some input and I had some input,
Right,
and I think that
right.
Dennis has had some input as well.
Okay, I just want to be sure I was reading this right. When I read through all his documents, my personal opinion is I think we do need to say something. We can't say nothing. And I thought the draft was pretty good. It's you don't want to restrict artists. You want them to do their thing. But I didn't read this as per se restrictive. I had a question on sound and lighting. There was one mention about lighting under the national and local guidelines, but there very easily could be technology being used in these, and so that was just a detailed couple of questions about do we have an opinion on that or not. But as a draft, I thought it looked pretty good. Those are my comments.
Any other comments, Melinda? You were going to say something.
Well, I want to say thank you, Lowell, for coming up with something so great, because it looks like we borrowed quite a lot of your language. I thought it was great. I thought it was very thorough. I think it gives us all of the parameters that allow us to say yay or nay, and I thought it was well written.
Walter.
Yeah, I do have some comments and concerns. And as far as the time frame goes, this is to be put in fall of 2024 to run for 6 months.
Not even. I think it's even shorter than that.
Okay, and just purely a one-time on the spot, or is it a test run for art in that position?
They're currently designing a permanent memorial for that spot, I believe, for 2025. So there wouldn't be, I mean, as far as I know, I'm not making decisions here.
I'm not holding you to it.
But I'm assuming that once the permanent memorial is in there, that there would not be temporary art installations. But
do we have a sense of what the nature of a permanent memorial there is?
Not yet. They had a
memorializing what? Right?
They had a public meeting. Was it just last week?
Yes,
Luis was there, or maybe 2 weeks ago, with Sasaki. So Sasaki Design Associates is designing something currently, and I think it's in January when they're going to come back with a near final design.
To honor what?
The sort of forgotten and unheard people of Concord, and maybe nationally too.
Okay, yeah, I understand the national
underrepresented folks,
right, and the unrepresented in whatever. One of my concerns or questions about this was, honoring 2 citizens of Concord in a location. Once again, I mean, I'm not trying to be fixated on Monument Square and 250th, but if it ran longer than that in that position, it's not focused on that townwide celebration as much, and it's almost a distraction if that's the case. But I guess my overriding concern about this, the biggest concern, is that if the HDC is in a position of taking a look at this after the process is pretty much run its course and completed, if the HDC were to think that whatever the final installation was inappropriate for an historic district site, and Monument Square there would probably be an awful lot of pressure to not pull the plug on that entire process and on the artist. So I would be concerned about the cleanliness of an HDC decision about the appropriateness of a piece of art if the HDC ends up being the final arbiter of what goes into that historic location. I don't know what the answer is to that quite yet, but it's left me scratching my head. So, you know, it's not that everybody would be under pressure to go, oh, come on, you know, we put so much work into this, but that's what it would translate to functionally. It's like, oh, come on, you know, rubber stamp this. We've been working on this for 6 months or a year, and it's not necessarily fair to the process. So all that said, it led me to wondering if there should be an alternative site even, rather than putting a piece of art of a temporary nature in an historic district site, which led me to maybe the Umbrellas property or you know, a playground or something there. But that's kind of a ramble, but that's where my thoughts are at the moment.
Walter, I'll take the opportunity to mention to you that the strategy that you just described, where an applicant comes to the commission with a project that the commission finds initially wanting, and then goes into the mode that we have been working for this for so long that you cannot just deny it. It's a tried and true strategy.
Sure.
And it's very troublesome because you know, this commission held its breath for a number of structures in town, and at the end, we not all of us, but the commission caved. So I think that's the reason that it's important that we try to, at least we attempt to have the first shot or the opening shot. If we establish some guidelines, at least we can say, well, you did not follow the guidelines, therefore you're stuck. But I entirely agree that it's a very inconsistent process all along, because they can ask for whatever it is, and it's temporary, so it doesn't really matter. And depending on how they ask for it, then we may be forced to approve it no matter what. So I thought that it would be important to have these guidelines, because then at least we can have some influence of what goes on. See what you just mentioned, say, well, let me put it in the umbrella. Okay. Well, that makes perfect sense, but you know, if you know all the stuff that has been going on, you probably would be kicked out of the room if you suggest anything like that.
Well, I understand. It is a process, and it's been going.
It's a process, you see, and I think that it's not a precise process, and it's not an efficient process. But you know, at least we have some say. You see, there were some applicants that came over with instructions document and said, you know, you are supposed to approve these because we already spent $1.5 million. So that's the way it is, you know? And that's where we're trying to avoid it. Any other comments? I was worried that Paul is going to say something, but he only thinks. See, he will say all the comments later.
Well, I'm confused. That's why I don't want to give an uninformed view here. But we're talking about, I'm not exactly sure what we're talking about. The guidelines are with respect to temporary, I haven't read them, so I'm hobbled by that. But the guidelines, as you're suggesting them, would be for art exhibitions in general, in the historic districts or in the town, in public squares?
No, just for this one temporary exhibit on parcel 1693 in the fall of 24. So it's very specific.
But so we're going to have guidelines for that one exhibition?
Right, because they're doing a call for art, so it isn't.
Yeah.
Right.
It's
so
not a thing. Yeah, I understand.
It's sort of open-ended at this point, and they want to give some guidance to the many artists who might apply for that that prestigious
Well, I mean, in
opportunity.
principle, I think it's a good suggestion that the chairman makes, and I haven't read the guidelines, so I don't have a view on those, but in principle, it sounds like a good suggestion.
I just want to mention the fact that, as Anne mentioned, this is a very specific request for a very specific site at a very specific time. But no matter what we say, this is going to be precedent. And that's the reason that I think we should apply our utmost attention to create a document that, if it's going to be used as a precedent, which I have no doubt that it will be supporting the purposes of the Historic Districts Commission. Because if we say, well, no, this was just for parcel 1693, and that was only for 2024, that's all going to be changed, and they're going to say, well, but you approved that, so why don't you approve these, etc., etc. So that's the reason that I believe that this would be an opportunity for the HDC to sort of put its foot down to a certain extent and say, if you want to have a temporary art installation, we believe that you should follow these general guidelines, and these guidelines are not binding and are not requirements, but are general information. So that's the reason I think that we should work very judiciously in creating these guidelines, because they are going to be used in the future. Again, I agree that the application right now is for one thing, but that's not the way that's going to be used in the future. Guaranteed.
But Luis, if that's the case, shouldn't we have some kind of public comment on the proposed guidelines?
Well, that is something that I've been thinking that we should have. But on the other hand, the commission, as a commission, works in an autonomous way, representing the interests of the citizens of Concord. So I think that in the same way that we make decisions, we certainly hear the public comments and so forth, but that we make decisions about an application. This is something that the commission may express as a set of guidelines that it finds appropriate, based upon the fact that the commissioners have experience in serving in the commission and so forth. So it's not an application that requires to have input in general. See, I think that we can take ownership of the input of the town by virtue that we are the members of the town that serve the commission. But I agree, if we were going to do a formal set of guidelines, then we should have public comments and et cetera, et cetera. But I don't think that would be beneficial, in the sense that would create all kinds of competing interests. And what I would like to have, what I believe that would benefit us, is again a set of guidelines that are not binding, that don't imply that if you check all the subjects, your application is going to be approved. There's a very general set of guidelines that says, things should be consistent with the historic references of the town. So that's the reason I want to do something formal. Sorry for my long-winded comment. Go ahead, Tim. Thank you.
I was just looking through all the HDC stuff, trying to find references to art. I was thinking, is anybody in this this is slightly off topic, but if somebody wanted to put a piece of art in the front lawn in a historic district, has that not happened? Because there's no, as far as I can tell, there's no references to any guidelines for permanent art or temporary art that someone might want to set up with. Is it we've never had this before, or as far as anybody knows?
We did have it. We did have it with the Concord market. That suddenly two modern sculptures appeared out of the blue. and a big brouhaha took place. And the only reason that we got away with actually getting an application for that and having the precedent that those were structures that were visible for the public way, therefore it was our purview, is because the applicant had another application related to the same site for something much bigger. And we refused to consider the application because he had a violation pending. So once that was established, and he applied to have the art placed in front of the Concord market, and the art is there. So we do have purview on art. But art is no different from, a garage or a new window.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that we have presented what are the issues, and if it's okay with the commission, I would like to ask Dennis Fiore, Ann Clifford, and myself that we work on this document. This document will be presented to the commission as a whole, and I will ask for your input and with your agreement. And of course, we'll hear any comments or any observations you want to make. You can send them directly to Anne, and she will send it to all of us, and we can go from there.
So Mimi did give us a deadline of October 25th, which is next Wednesday. I think?
Wednesday, yeah.
Right.
Right. So we'll do it by mail. I think that we are far advanced. We are pretty much advanced in the original document that we have. So I think that we can, and I think that the most important thing, and I reserve the right to trouble Paul, so he can give me the perfect language that says that these are just general guidelines that are not binding and that should not be construed as a requirements for the HCC approving anything. And I think that that's going to be the most important part, because everything else, I think it's going to be general recommendations, and we'll circulate them, and we'll be welcoming any comments or observations that the commissioners may have. All right, so are there any other issues that anybody wants to discuss? If there are none, then I will ask for a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion that we adjourn.
A second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those against? The motion passes. Do we have a
Only one
speaker? We have a speaker. Abebus Papa.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, members.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you so very
Please.
much. Have a good night.
everyone.
Have a good night.
Bye-bye.